The first presentation from, I believe, it's Brian, Protective Services.
Right. Jeez, this gets everything hard.
Sorry, just a minute.
Yeah.
Infrastructure Monday
This one?
on the list. Infrastructure Monday.
Try to do this one faster. All right, welcome to my setup. Okay, so again, pulling stats just from our call responses. We just we're pulling year-to-date summaries. We're finding that's easier to present and pull these up instead of having kind of more granularity on one. We have had an interesting month. We noticed partway through February, I would say, that we got far less nuisance alarm calls from one of our favorite buildings. It turns out there's no connection there. So that was a lot better because we had to see.
I'm sorry, Brian, can you speak a little louder?
Yeah, so we had far less nuisance alarms from one of our kind of frequent buildings that we attend. There was no tenants in it after all, is what we found out, our office apartments. So at least in the second and third floor, when we went to it, there was very, very, very few people in there. So but it definitely was reflected in that. We've had a few more since, but it's kind of brought up our ratio of fire responses themselves in terms of our overall numbers. We've had a few big ones, although those are kind of my qualitative report, but it's kind of, we're still sitting there with lost false alarms. That's just kind of our bread and butter, obviously, but we're training more duty officers on these responses as well. So you can start to see the number of personnel on some of the calls go up. So the calls with more than one officer, that reflects a lot of the training that we're doing to bring some of our duty officers up to speed as well. We just welcomed on some new officers as well. So that's been part of that process, just training them up on that. And they're doing shadowing with our regular experienced duty officers on this too. So it just creates more capabilities, more capacity, particularly for absences, for meetings and other things, so that we can kind of spread the responsibilities amongst all of our officer group. So. Go on to the municipal enforcement. So municipal enforcement has had 139 calls, requests for service to date. These are not including patrols anymore. We've taken those out and they're doing regular patrols, 2 per day. It depends on whether on the day itself, the kind of the goal and schedules. So whether they're going on morning, afternoon, evening patrols. It's a mix of everything. We mix it up because it's a pretty good way to do that as well. What we're finding is we're still getting a lot of dog enforcement, traffic enforcement. Those are still our bread and butter. Our pound doesn't have a lot in it right now. But it's been rather steady nonetheless. We're working with some other community members on some enforcement of the Dog Act. We're going to see where that goes this week. We're hoping to work with them to provide a solution as opposed to having to do with enforcement, because it can be difficult to do that in the Act itself. It doesn't give a lot of tools within that, but we're working on navigating through that. So any questions about the stats themselves before we move on? Great. So from qualitative updates, so we've been doing a lot of training within the IFD. So we did a mid-year intro recruit training program. So we welcomed on 6 new members through a recruiting drive we did. Our numbers were getting a little low, not too concerning, but below our normal around like 35 to 40 members. So we're back up to 40 again, which is great. They successfully completed it. We've got some really good energy with it. It's really good to see. They came out and we did a combined wildland urban interface exercise with other communities, combined with them as well. So you may have seen us out at by the boat launch. We were spraying around water from our fire sprinkler systems. We set that up as kind of the unique exercise to do with that, just to show that we could extend our training season with wildland urban interface equipment into the cold weather as well. So it was about -10, but we were pretty successful in doing that. We're able to introduce some of our dual use equipment with that as well. I'll kind of go into that a little bit more, but basically ponds and other things that improve the response capabilities within the municipality, as well as increasing the capabilities throughout the region when it comes to loaning equipment that was purchased through federal and territorial grants. We have some, this week, actually, we get a really busy training week. We have an outside instructor, 2 outside instructors coming up to do our WUI crew member course with us. It's an Alberta standardized course. Gets us up to speed with other fire departments in the NT as well. And allows us to do a mutual response amongst the various organizations as well. We'll be rolling that out and presenting some information to the administration about a potential mutual aid agreement that's been developed with the Fire Chiefs Association, ECC, and MACA, and the Office of the Fire Marshal's Office. redundancy department. But we're having an internal meeting on Wednesday just to crack out some plans with that, and we'll have more information to follow on that. The nuts and bolts of that, it allows us to potentially deploy members to other communities while still maintaining the capacity and response capabilities within Inuvik, but use it to bolster response capabilities, experience building, and capacity building across the board, as well as bring some revenue from the municipality too. We have cross training with ECC fire crews throughout May. We've got about a week of training planned with them where they're going to be coming and working with our equipment. We'll be working with their equipment. Our career staff in particular will be working with a lot of their staff. We've got 16 people coming in for that. So it's going to be a good training opportunity for everybody just around wildfire protection and interface responses. We're going to be doing an operational review of our emergency plan with TOI staff, including other directors and management, just to plan around potential flood evacuations if they have to host anybody during that. And then from an operations point of view, we've had two major incidents, two large structure fires. One was just over the weekend. It was cabinets out of town. It was a complete loss. Unfortunately, we sent limited response crews out for that, just because we don't bring apparatus out into the ice. It's just a matter of policy, but we do investigate just to ensure life safety and property conservation. There was another one that was in town. We coordinated an investigation with the Office of the Fire Marshal. They sent up an investigator to help with that because I was actually out with a meeting with them on around their training plans in Yellowknife when that was happening. So that's wrapped up pretty much right now. We've it's in the insurance adjuster's hands now, so we're just wrapping their things. In terms of projects and capital projects we have ongoing, the air compressor room is almost, the reconstruction is almost complete. We got drywall up in the walls now. We've got cabinets up. We got a lot of new steel equipment in there just to make it more resilient and last quite a while. We were able to do our end of fiscal year event in Inuvik combined with our RTP program, which is great because we were able to use all sorts of ponds, all sorts of new equipment, a bunch of stuff that we just purchased, and we still got equipment coming in. So we were able to transfer around some of the funds that we originally applied for in the previous fiscal year because we only had about 6 to 7 months of operating time. We had more under the staffing budget than we anticipated. So we're able to use that for some equipment that's mutually beneficial to everybody. We're looking at bringing one of our sea cans in from the training area into the back of the fire hall, actually, is so that we can store more equipment there for regular use and we can access it as part of municipal firefighting if we do need that as well. It just gives us more options without having any big expenses on that. And then one of the big things we did in conjunction with our marketing department was rebranding. So we got some snazzy new hats. We kind of put these in before. We put this on a lot of our logos, all of our forums, and everything else, and it's kind of taken a new approach. As you can see in the next slide, we've wanted to unify the various logos as well across municipal enforcement and fire services, as well as protective service, just to get a single rebranded logo across the board. A bunch of different variations on this depending on what we're going to be doing, but we were able to work pretty closely around the town visual identity program just to make sure we were using the same graphics, image, theme, everything else, fonts, you name it, as the rest of the town. We were kind of a bit of an outlier on that. We wanted to bring it back into the fold and make sure we're all one team. On municipal enforcement, so we've, as I said previously, we're going to be doing some engagement on dog act enforcement. We're hoping that goes pretty smoothly. Taxi renewals were completed. We have all of our current taxi drivers renewed. They're all good to go, including the two businesses as well. We have some stuff that we're looking to make some administrative changes to the bylaw. Nothing too controversial around rates or anything like that, but just some stuff that's going to clean up some of the application process and stuff like that. So we're going to work with in consultation with some of the drivers. Just around what that's going to look like, and then bring it to the Protective Services Committee for initial review, and then see where we go from there. Under dog licenses, we moved to online forms and payments. That's been going pretty successfully. We've had a lot of uptake on annual licenses, which reduces a lot of the input we require. And we like doing that because we're seeing revenue along with getting some of our dogs that are identified. We had a meeting with RCMP just to discuss cross-training opportunities and coordination of our programs with theirs. So we've been sending municipal enforcement officers out into the community with RCMP to do checkpoints, safety patrols, all sorts of different things. And we're going to be working on the bike rodeo with them as well. Looking forward to running that in June in partnership with the schools and a few of the other organizations in town to give out some helmets. We're going to be running our positive ticking campaign again this summer. So giving tickets out to kids with helmets, and they're abiding by the safety rules so that they can be entered into a draw to win a pretty nice helmet. We've purchased our incinerator. It's a little bit of delay on that, but we got the fuel tank, other items and everything else in. We're probably gonna have to work with ECC and share some space in the next little bit on the usual way we do things. But we're hoping to have the incinerator available for public access as well, not public access, but like availability for the public too. Just to keep care and help people with kind of a tough spot that a lot of people encounter when their pets reach the end of their life cycle. So. And under IT, so we decided to push the server upgrade till the end of the summer/fall. It's going to allow us time to just see what's happening with any new software implementation about server needs, just to see whether we have to host the financial software on there and enterprise resource software, or if that's going to be cloud-based, and then about where the water treatment plant a backup is going to live too. So we're anticipating the smaller server size than originally anticipated, so that's gonna be pretty nice. And then we'll see where that ends up in the summer and fall. Mobile device manager training is completed. We spent some time with Mitch working on that. It's basically for the management system for all of our new devices, the cell phones and iPads and everything else. He's a pretty good understanding of how to address any user concerns for that, which kind of helps because I was one of the ones that implemented it, and we needed to expand that to everybody else as well. But we've sent out some communications around that. He's gotten some pretty good training, and we're pretty happy on that. And then finally, we're implementing our multi-factor authentication security, and that's going live next Wednesday. So what that's going to require is that town employees will need to use a cell phone app, an authenticator app, to verify that it is indeed them sitting in front of their computer trying to log into their accounts. So it increases the security across the board for our IT infrastructure. It's one of the recommendations that was made by our insurer as well. We were already on this in terms of implementing it. There's just a few nuts and bolts and stuff like that, especially around device management and things like that we had to sort out first. But we're doing that, and we're planning on activating that next Wednesday. So that's what the authenticator will look like. That is all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Brian. Questions from council on any part of that presentation? I have one question, Brian. It just triggered a question when you were on the community emergency plan. I think it was over a year ago, John was still here. There's a presentation on that, recommendations to, I think include some of the indigenous groups or inform them on some of the plans. And then I think that was coming back to council for approval. Has that ever come to council for approval?
Not to my knowledge, but yeah, I don't think it's a council approval required, but we can certainly do a presentation around that as well.
I thought when you laid out previously the process is that it would be completed, comes to council for approval, and then don't we submit it to MACA?
No, there's no submissions required to MACA. They want to make sure that we have an emergency plan in place, but there's no requirement to provide to them as part of a formal approval process. One thing they were trying to do is to align people on the same formatting across different communities. It was mainly for communities that didn't have emergency plans in place. The system that we went with is a bit more interactive than what they had in mind. Just allows it to be accessed from more locations, integrated into an app as well, and just gives us more opportunity or more abilities to use that within our organization itself. But
yeah, it does seem, because I mean it's fairly involved and has a lot of commitment of staff and resources. It does seem like it's something that should have a council approval on it, just so that everybody's familiar with it. So I don't know if that's happened in the past or not, but
I don't believe it has in the past, but we can, like I said, we can definitely bring it to council, but you guys can.
Yeah, that's what I would just note. I was around for a couple updates recently in my previous terms, and we've never approved the emergency plan updates at council at that time. It was, the updated version was provided, but it was basically run by municipal enforcement. Because it's the staff that would be involved in incident command, not any of us as leadership.
yeah.
And then the reporting to MACA is for their information, as Brian said, to make sure that we have an emergency plan.
Right. So So we don't actually submit it to them, we just tell them we have one, or do we submit it?
Will be submitted as an FYI, of which they have.
They have
Okay,
Yeah.
copies of the current one.
so we have submitted this last
Yeah.
plan,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
okay,
We provide a copy to, like Jen is the, emergency management coordinator, I guess it is there. Each region has an emo staff person that will work with more hands-on with the outlying communities that need more assistance on it.
okay,
As well, they're able to manage it. We have a statutory requirement under legislation to maintain our own LEMO, so local
Yeah.
emergency management organization. And as long as we're maintaining that requirement, then we're good from MAC's point of view, so.
okay,
And part of that maintenance is also training.
yeah. Okay, good. Any further questions for Brian? All right, we'll keep moving, and next we have hotels and tourism updates. Charlotte.
Must be a really big file, I'm just kind of liking. So we're just planning Tourism Week, which is running this week. So what we have is we're partnering with the library, featuring some books, promoting the town as well as the region. We also have a tourism operator award, so a vote going, that is going online. You can see the poster. There's prizes, free prizes for, the ones that get the most votes. The award will be given on Saturday, during the Arctic market. During that market, there will be some bannock and donuts, for free, given out to the public. And ITI will also give a presentation about tourism in the region. And we'll finally announce the winners of the Tourism Operator of the Year Award. We're also partnering with Air North, that is giving or sponsoring $4,000 tickets to go anywhere all the way to Vancouver for 2 people. This will be a draw at the Arctic Market on Saturday. We also have 3 workshops, free workshops. People can sign up starting today, limited to 10 people per workshop. And it's available. Oh, sorry, sign up are available online as well as at the Welcome Center if people don't have access to any internet. Also, so ADE, we're very happy to have DND joining as an exhibitor as well as a speaker. As of this morning, we have 150 attendees registered, 27 exhibitors, with some of them have more booths, like 2 or 3 booths per exhibitor. We have 13 sponsors with $44,000 in cash and $30,000 in kind. And we still in talks with other sponsors so far, but this is what we have, 13 sponsors. So lots of inquiries. Right now we have some struggle finding hotel rooms. With Mayor Clarkson, we're working on getting more accommodations for attendees. Project, so the Inuvik guide is out. We just received a few boxes, so it's kind of limited right now due to the limited resources. But there's some at the town hall, welcome center, airport, and then once we get more, we'll distribute them to hotels and other locations in town. We're working on a Town of Inuvik app that should be finished in 2 or 3 weeks. And we just launched a business directory online. People can sign up. I believe the marketing person will release that on Wednesday. It used to be on the website. It's just, it didn't make the transition. So now it's back. It's more intuitive and easier to get access to the information. Funding, we just received funding from ITI for 2 capital projects. They will be funded 85% to their total costs. And this week, I'm also submitting 2 applications, one for ADE and the other one for the Sunrise Festival 2027 through federal funding. And hopefully I can, if I have time, I'll also apply for more funding regarding cultural and artistic projects like the mural for the washrooms, hopefully, as well as workshops for this summer. And that's it. Oh, just the last point also. So I'm sure you've noticed, we are working on Bear Fence communication in partnership with Inuvik Game Council, as well as the Wichin Renewable Resource Board. This is ongoing communication that is going to go through all until the end of the summer, basically, to just educate people on what's going on, what to do, and best practices.
Sorry, just to confirm that communication, are you getting that communication as well? Because I know that ECC would be using the town's communication to share. And you are getting it, okay, good.
I'm getting an email. If you wanted to put it on our Facebook, that has to go through headquarters, comms. But I will encourage them to put some stuff out as well, now that I'm back in town.
Questions, comments for Charlotte on any of those items or anything else? Councilor Bear.
Great presentation. I'm just thinking about D&D and sort of some of the updates that we heard this evening around, you know, registering as an Indigenous business with the Government of Canada or non-Indigenous Northern businesses, the security clearances, and all of the potential economic opportunities that might be coming over the next decade. You never know. You know, do you see a place for supporting business owners here in Inuvik, whether that be in partnership with D&D for workshops on how to register or different materials that are being handed out? I'm just thinking that this could be a great opportunity to connect now that we've received that presentation.
Yeah, so we're just in a meeting just before council and we discussed that particular topic. We also discussed like they want to do a B2B session during ADE, which we offered the room at the Nixon complex, so they can run a parallel session to what will be going on during the Arctic Development Expo. But yeah, the topic was raised and we're looking into ways to organize that.
Other questions, comments for Charlotte? Any? Thanks, Charlotte. Looking forward to another busy summer. And we have,
Is on that?
oh, okay. Next is infrastructure and Daniel's online.
Thanks, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'll just be giving a quick. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, now we can talk loud.
Okay. Yeah, just gonna give you a quick update here from the Department of Infrastructure, starting with the funding approval and the announcement that was made by Rebecca when she flew into town, and that was a picture there. Thanks to the communication department for sending that our way. We did speak about this in my last council presentation, but obviously we didn't share a lot of information at the time. This funding will be supporting 3 projects, which is the sewage lagoon project, the new water reservoir, and the new truck fuel station by the reservoir as well. So yeah, we're looking forward to get that going. Obviously, the Lagoon project is already ongoing, and then for the other two, we're gearing up here for design with the engineers, and hopefully, we'll see all these ones come to an end by March of 2028, which is when the funding does expire. Next slide, please. Um, More stats here in terms of monitoring our buildings and how much work orders and how much maintenance work and stuff that we're doing on those. During the last presentation, we had the Welcome Center leading the way, and now that has switched the town hall has switched places with the Welcome Center. And that's just showing a graph there with all of our buildings and how much work we've had to call either the as and when contractors or in-house labor from our facilities crew to go out there to work on. We do have on the right-hand side there's a QR code which is easily accessible on our website for members of the public to put in any kind of request they might have. And I think that was part of the communication in the newsletter that I shared with Charlotte's team in terms of having that publicized so that as the snow melts and people start to see potholes or start to see issues or concerns around town, they can easily submit those requests and they will get an automated response. I mean, an automated email, I mean to say, and they would also get an automated response once the work is done. And all this obviously is facilitated through with the help of JotForm, which Charlotte's team is also helping to implement, and of course our software, which we started using effectively this year, which is the Azure asset management software. Next slide, please. Yeah, just further to that, the work order and in terms of maintenance requests, you can see how much that has been over the year from January till now. Of course, there was that spike in February, and most of that was associated with the cold weather and having most of our buildings having heating issues, and most of that came from the Welcome Center actually. And then of course having members of the public calling in to have either the utility checked in their area because they don't have water supply, but more often than not, it was pretty much the utility debt and their water lines that were frozen. But yes, we did have to dispatch a staff out there to go take a look at that. And of course, we've seen that tapering down now with the warmer weather we seem to be getting. And right now we'll probably see a bump again as soon as the snow clears out and people start to notice more issues on the roads and the parks and stuff like that. But right now, that's the trend. And of course, like I said, February was attributed to the cold. Next slide, please. Capital projects. So just like I mentioned earlier, the sewage lagoon project is underway. We did purchase most of the materials last year, as you may know, as you may remember, because that was approved by council. And we did approve the contract as well for the contractor earlier this year. He does plan to commence work between July and August. We're currently talking to the water board, having those conversations in terms of any kind of regulatory, and these conversations have been had in the past, I must say. But because obviously it's been over 2 years since those conversations were had when this project was initially conceptualized, I guess. We're having to revisit those conversations with them. They do have a meeting on the 7th of next month, is what we're told. And hopefully we'll be hearing from them in terms of if they have any concerns or issues. But they did approve it in the past, and I don't see any concerns there this time either. And hopefully this should be finished this year in the summer, as soon as the weather permits. Move on to the next slide, please. Shell Lake Civic addressing. So this is now finally complete. We did consult with the members, with the community members that live in that area. We did hear back from them. We had 4 responses. This was discussed at the committee level with the infrastructure committee in terms of the responses we got from the public. And those responses were addressed. And now the addressing has been provided to the GNW, to the RCMP, AMS, and other organizations in town for emergency response purposes. And we are moving ahead with those addresses. So it just means each of those lots now in Shell Lake would have civic address numbers, and the map there on the right shows how those numbers came to be. So we have the even numbers on the left and the odd on the right. And yeah, that has now been finalized and complete. Next slide, please. Yeah, I just want to take the time to actually shout out to my staff, the facility folks for helping out there with the Jamboree. I'm sure when the director of rec comes up, he probably has a slide or two about this as well. I haven't seen his slides, but yes, just recognizing the work the team has done there with getting the ice out, getting the rec center ready for the Jamboree. And yes, and from all indications, it was a successful event and everything went well. Of course, we did have one or two issues that we had to address, but all those were addressed as quickly as they came up. And that has been and gone now. Next slide, please. The solid waste site. If anybody has been following the Facebook page, you will notice we've publicized this already. The fence is now energized and will remain energized until the bears go back into hibernation. We have come up with some policies and procedures in terms of safety. We've shared that with the fire department too. The gate wasn't initially planned for energization, but obviously as the plan as construction proceeded and conversations proceeded, the gate was also energized. So on the right-hand side there, you see the procedure of energizing the fence and de-energizing the fence. This has been, I don't think it's done yet. I believe Juan is still making the posters, the banner, sorry, that will be attached to the gate. So we'll have this visible on the gate. In case of an emergency, in case somebody needs to get access, especially the fire department, for instance, they know exactly what to do, so we don't have any incidents or any case of somebody getting zapped, hopefully not. And of course, there's a whole lot of warning signs that have been placed all over the fence, and that's in the picture right there with the bright yellow color to make it as visible as possible so that everybody is aware. And of course, we're working with, and I think I had discussed this in the next slide, working with the communications folks there to keep publicizing this and pushing this out there so every member of the community is aware and to prevent anybody from straying and touching the fence. Next slide, please. Yeah, just like I was saying, there's a whole lot of public communication piece that Shadow's team has been putting out there, and just those are a couple of them, a sample couples of them. I think the first one there on the left, that one there is going to the school and geared more towards that demographic. And then of course the rest of it is out there to the entirety of the town and all community members. And of course, now we're trying to push the awareness in terms of the bear attractants to avoid people leaving garbage outside and all that stuff. Because with the hope that the fence will work as intended, the bears wouldn't have access to the landfill. And we're hoping we don't have any attractants in town that might attract them into town. So we're pushing that now, and obviously we do have stickers that we have made, and we're just waiting for better weather that will be placed on all blue bins in town with a QR code and a number to call. If your bin is full, give us a call. That might mean obviously us having to give the contractor a call for extra pickup, which will obviously impact our budget, but obviously the main intent there is to keep the town safe and ensure that everybody is aware and we know what needs to be done. Next slide. Yes, one good news we did here towards the end of last week, I believe it was the chief funding application, the territorial chief funding application. We had put in two applications to them. One was for the Duck Lake Utility Replacement Project, which is planned for next year. And then the other was for the water intake, the water treatment plant upgrade in terms of the pipes in there and the and the pump house. And we did get news from the territorial government that both our projects have been approved, have been sent off to the federal government for approval. So we're hoping that we'll hear good feedback in due course, and those two projects will be approved and implemented potentially next year. Next slide, please. We had our annual inspection done at the water treatment plant. This is done, like I said, annual. It's done routinely by the health officer. He did come in. He was happy about one thing, obviously, which is the fact that we cleaned the reservoir tanks last year, which is something he has been pushing for since he moved to town. So that didn't come up this year on our report, but obviously he did have a couple issues in terms of the guys cleaning up after themselves, after doing work and stuff like that, which I have discussed with the team. But all in all, the facility runs the facility is being run in good order, and the guys are doing a wonderful job. And yes, like I said, the little bit of comments he had, I have addressed to the team, and going forward, we'll do our bits to make sure those those don't come up again in his report. I mean, the one big one which I have also already discussed to the SAO is the piping. We do have, which is part of the application I made in the last slide there to Chief. Some of the welds in the water treatment plants are failing, or they failed. There's a little bit of leaking and dripping here and there. And we're trying to get those replaced, but obviously we have been bumping it for the last 2 years now, at least since I've been here. And the quote already existed even before I joined, for budget reasons. But I did say to the SAO, I would really appreciate if we could make that a priority. Hopefully the CHIPS funding comes in, and obviously that makes things a little bit easy for us in terms of the budget. But yes, that's one thing he did put again in his report that we'll probably need to address. Next slide, please. Thank you for your time. Is there anybody that has questions?
Thank you, Daniel. Questions, comments for Daniel on any of those items? Daniel, on some of that funding that we've either received or hopefully will receive, were some of those already included in our budget? So are we potentially saving on our budget?
So I guess the answer to that is yes. The utility one, no. The utility one wasn't included. So the utility I applied for is for the next year's 2027 project. So that's not in our current budget. But for the second funding we applied for, that included the pressure zone, like I said, the pipes in the water treatment plants, the pipe underneath the water treatment plant, and the raw water pump house. So there is money in the budget for the pressure zone, for the pressure issue we have. So yes, we could potentially be saving there. I would need to have conversation with the engineer in terms of maybe slowing down the work, or do we pause the work? But I did bring this up in the last directors meeting with the SAO, and we're having conversations on how we can address that, so we don't spend most of our money before this funding is finally approved and we get it. But obviously, on the other hand, this work needs to be done so that those 40 houses or so that feel the pressure issue can get relief. So yes, there's a little bit of conversation to be had, and we'll figure out the best way forward.
Okay, thanks. Any questions, comments? Thanks, Daniel.
All right. Thank you.
Next, we have Inuvik Works, Patricia.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors, fellow staff. Thank you for your time this evening. Inuvik Works has completed 1 full year of operation. So Inuvik Works and next to news. So the presentation I have this evening is basically some stats and things that we've accomplished over the last year. Want me to flip forward? So to start with, we have the sales in the store. So you'll see there the graph of each, or the chart of each month's sales. The Inuvik Works contracted some jobs and it was just just almost $14,000. So the total income from the store and the services was just a little bit over 55,000 for the year. And for store donations, so these are the items that were donated to the store. And you'll see there on the bottom right-hand side, it was just over 20,000, and that's pounds that was donated to the store. Our weigh scale is in pounds. And then for donations out to the community of clothing, we started just in the winter to start moving some things out to other communities. In January, we had 12 boxes go out to Paulatuk. In February, 12 boxes out to Inuvik, 7 to McPherson, and 2 to Saks. And we're working on Tuck and Aklavik. They both asked for about 10 boxes, so we're in the process of getting those out to them. So for events and training, this slide here is the training that has happened. So we had 16 different formal training sessions for the crew. And you'll see that a number of adults and elders attended, and a couple of youth attended those. And then this part here is the different events that we had. And altogether, it was 34 trainings and events that we had, with a total of 566 adults participating, 154 elders, and 251 youth. Throughout the year, we had 18 crew hires, and some of those hires were just for specific training. So they came on board for specific training, and then when that training was completed, they were done. We had 429 assists in the store. So that means clothing, food, water, popsicles in the summer when it was really hot. They came and received something, some kind of support from us. I don't think the bathroom use is listed in there because that's just a pop in and out. So it's not necessarily, we have, not a high number, but a steady number of people who come and use the washroom, because it's one of the few public washrooms that are in that area. We had 250 elder or persons with disability assists, and that doesn't include, we had a list of, I believe it was 17 or 18 elders that the crew went and saw throughout the winter, at least once a week. During those heavy snow, it was sometimes 3 times a week. They visited the elders, checked in on them, seen if they needed any garbage emptied, and shoveled their ramps and walkways, etc. So those numbers don't include that regular basis of checking in. So throughout the year, we had a number of highlights. The crew accomplished a lot. They helped out with jamborees and events. They helped out the town with some different projects that needed to be done. The crew grew in confidence and skill, and they had a lot of fun. It's a great group. They have a lot of fun, and those pictures just depict some of the fun times and some of the hard work. You know, I don't know if you can see there, the picture on the left is one of the piles of snow that they shoveled by hand to get to an elder's, I believe that was to a gas meter that they were reaching for. And so with all the snow this winter, that's not the biggest pile that they shoveled, but it was one of the bigger ones that they shoveled. And the other one is the town of Inuvik trailer. They shoveled it all off so that the town crew could have access. And it was, they didn't get a before picture, but I understand it was pretty covered. They had a hard time finding it. So what's coming up? So funding streams are still in the works. We've applied to all of the same funding streams that are available. Not all of them are available. We have continued training set up. So we're working with GTC, the Inuvik Justice Committee, Ingamo and Inuvik Native Band and ICC, working in partnership to do trainings. We have another Trades Essential workshop coming up, probably in June. So our new crew members will be taking that and building, actually, because it's in June, they'll be able to do a build outside and perhaps build a some kind of shack or cabin for an organization that might need one. We're expanding partnerships, and our goal is to have more mentorability connections this year. That was probably the one area that we were a little bit weak on. Everything else we came across well beyond the funders' expectations. So that's one area we want to focus on. So Inuvik Works in Next to New had a successful year of operation, is progressing into our second year. And do you have any questions?
Thanks, Patricia. Great job and great job to all the workers inside and outside. Questions, comments from council? Councilor Pair.
Thanks again for your presentation. Just to second the comments from Mayor Clarkson, exceptional. So such a wonderful presentation, and it really captures all the different areas that the program has focused on over the last year, be it events, mentoring, skill development, job creation, and others. So a big congratulations to both yourself and your leadership role, but also your crew, the volunteers, and many others who supported the program over the last year, and looking forward to what the next year holds.
Thank you.
Big success.
It's also becoming a tourist destination. Several people that toured around town told them that we've got, you know, a next to new now. They've all wanted to stop there because there's lots of thrifters out there, so they want to see it, and a lot of them have been buying stuff too. So it's quite interesting to see people that are from out of town and not from the, you know, Boulder Delta, but want to go to the thrift store. So it's great.
People from large centers across Canada and the United States have been in and have bought things to take home. Sorry.
So what sort of things attract you to Next to New that you take back to some large center? Dying to know.
Well, I think the most interesting one was a heat bulb, like a heat lamp, you know, a bulb that goes in a heat lamp. Cause I was curious how they were gonna get it home. Cause it's just like most of our stuff did not have packaging, and they bought it, and I've been looking all over for one of these, and bought it and took it home. So, yeah, I'm always interested in what people will find. Yes.
Great, good job, thanks.
One thing. So I just said, it's great to see that you're kind of expanding out into some of the outlying communities as well, and they're reaping some benefit, because I know sometimes you can just accumulate stuff. So it's nice to see that you're actually being able to also ship it out the door to benefit some of our neighbors in the surrounding communities. So it's really nice to see that as well.
Yeah, so on that note, if you're ever going on a charter to the communities, we probably have some boxes we can send you.
Great, thanks again. All right, next we have Trace from Park and Recs.
Jenna, the clicker works?
Yep,
Perfect, I'll use that.
it's frozen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the Parks and Recreation update. So we'll start off tonight with our KPIs. The month over month was getting a little muddled. So I've gone back to just 1 month at a time. And then once the numbers are finished for April, we'll go back to the month over month review. But we sold one corporate membership in March, along with an annual 23 monthly. Is that, I can't see the side of my chart there. Actually, that's 23 3-month, excuse me, and then 68 monthly along with 10 weekly and 26 day passes for a total revenue of $10,066.86. That's an increase of 3,279.76 over February. And most of that can be attributed to the large corporate membership. They bolster the stats pretty good. So that is something we're working on pursuing and reaching out to some of the companies that may have lapsed and seeing if they're interested in coming back. Even without the large corporate membership, we're still up about $780, which doesn't seem like a significant amount, but when you look at it in terms of monthly memberships, that's about 14 more than we saw before. And I think that attributes to why our 1-month membership was the largest gainer in March with 16. So that's still one of our most popular and getting a bunch of new people through the door. So that's always exciting. Can you go to the next slide? Sorry. Moving over to the library side of things, for the library users in March, 70% of our users, it was about 1,200 people, were adults. A lot of that came from some of the resume help that Tracy was doing on the computers and things like that, as well as people coming in and out throughout the day. 8% of our users were teens. Some of that was attributed to our teen pop-up programming and some of the other one-offs that the staff are working to get out there. And then 12%, I think, is that what that says? That's a horrible color, sorry. Yeah. 12% of our users were kids and youth, and that is the majority of our programming, so it makes sense that it makes up a sizable chunk there. How the library was used in March, there was 269 computer hours. We were down 25 hours overall from February. Computer users, there were 275. That was also down 64 total users from February. Items checked out of the library was 351. That was up 20 items over February. So good to see people are getting out and utilizing the books that Renee is buying, and they're obviously popular that way. Items used in-house was down to 80. That was a pretty significant decline from the previous month, but that all depends on, you know, what people's purpose is for visiting the library. And obviously we see some of that decrease moved into the items checked out overall. And the Vicky Billingsley Community Room saw 4 bookings, which was 3 less than February, but still good to see it utilized overall. Looking back on what we've kind of done the last couple of months, back to the library side of things, there was 3 ARI STEM visits. Those are always super popular programs. And so this go around, they did balloon rockets, 3D pen greenhouses, and robotics. So it's really neat to get those different kind of programs in there. Hopefully it sparks a passion in some of the youth and the kids that, utilize those programs and something a little different. So we're always happy to have them come and provide those services for us. The last book club ended on March 5th, I believe, and the new one started April 2nd. Renee did tell me that if anybody is interested in trying to jump on that, there is still some room and they would happily welcome you. Apparently it doesn't take too much to catch up on book club. So the bookworm program was one I wanted to highlight. This is one that Renee and the staff have done a fantastic job with. It started initially as kind of a limited time program. And what it is children can come into the library or at home and they'll read books to parents or guardians, and they receive stickers and prizes. And obviously when anything is associated with a prize, we see much greater engagement from everybody. But because of that, they've carried the program on into Saturdays and after schools. So I just really wanted to highlight what a great job they're doing that way and coming up with some new programs. Over to the MSC side of things, Director Tacoma was wrong. I don't have a whole slide on it. But we did finish the Muskrat Jamboree, and I would like to echo his sentiment. The staff did an absolutely amazing job. I've heard from a couple of the organizers, just how helpful they were. Prior to the Muskrat Jamboree, they all pulled together and got the ice out and made the ice surface that had the surface ready so that we could set up for Muskrat Jamboree. So I just really want to thank both Michael and Daniel on the infrastructure side for helping us out and pulling together to get that done. Otherwise, it's a little bit of a transition period for us. We've got through IRC Cup and Gwich'in Cup and Muskrat Jamboree, and we're starting to transition into our spring summer season. So it's not as much on the program side of things, way more focused on events. There's multiple day bookings and things like that that are more of the focus right now. But boot camp is one of our ongoing programs that we always like to promote, and that will go right up until the week before Arctic Development Expo, and then they will break for summer. And then it will come back in September. So if anybody hasn't had a chance to make it out to that yet, there is still a few sessions left. Team paint night that occurred on March 24th, right after the last council meeting. We unfortunately only had one participant come to that, but they had a fantastic time learning from Lori. I think they enjoyed the individualized attention when it came to figuring out the intricacies of the painting. So that's definitely something we're going to be running again in the future, and hoping to get more participation that way. And looking forward to what's coming up. It feels kind of weird to be talking about summer camp with so much snow outside, but summer camp postings will be going out right away here between kind of early May, mid-May. So if you have anybody that's looking for those type of positions, they're soon going to be available. Our drop zone will be back this year. We've got some new equipment, some great new things to help bolster that. So that'll be available for both rentals and drop-in periods. So we're excited to have that back. Unfortunately, we were a little ambitious with the launch of the walking track. We needed a little bit more time to get the arena pad cleaned up after Muskrat Jamboree than anticipated. So there will be communication going out fairly shortly with the official opening of that. But I just wanted to keep everybody updated on that as well. Canada Day funding, huge shout out to Charlotte and the tourism department. They were able to wrangle us about $7,000 in funding earmarked specifically for Canada Day. So that is going to allow us to really enhance the event for this year and hopefully, make it bigger and invite, more performers and more groups and have some more activities and things of that nature. But it's also going to allow us to keep our special event budget line for things like the marathon and potentially a Jaws movie night and other things like that in the pool that people have suggested. So looking forward to being able to use those funds for that and then using our special event line for other events and help bolster those. And then the big event coming up, I guess in a couple of weeks here, the annual Fireman's Ball will be happening on May 2nd over at the MSC, and we'll be hosting that. Does council have any questions?
Councilor Merrill.
Jaws in the pool?
With floaty things.
Or, Finding Nemo, something more family friendly.
Just don't find Nemo and then bring that shark in, okay?
Yeah.
So is this like a movie night in the pool? Is that what it is?
Yes, yeah, it's something a few communities have ran in the south, and it's come to us from SAO Cindy as something that we should probably pursue. And what it would be people would be could float in the pool on floaties, and then we would project a movie, whatever that movie be, onto the wall or a screen, and just have kind of a unique movie viewing opportunity. There'd be different colored lights in the pool, and so just something to get people out and something a little different.
This.
From the abyss. Long mouth.
Any further questions, comments for Trace? Trace, I know we don't organize all of it, but we did play a role last year, I think, in the facilitation of Indigenous Day.
Yep.
And so that's, are we doing that again just to?
Yeah, 100%. I believe a communication came out earlier this year, kind of predating that. And so fairly shortly here, probably at the beginning of May, we'll look to get together with the local groups, because our part in it is always the organization of Jim Cooey, and certain things need to be in certain places. And so we always have a fairly, hand-in-hand partnership with the groups that are actually running the events. So, but that's definitely something we'll be doing again.
Okay, great. Just for everyone's information, also, there will be the unveiling of the Edward Lenny Canada Post Stamp at Indigenous Day.
When? Indigenous Day?
At Indigenous Day. Oh, 21st of June, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Followed by the Midnight Sun Marathon. We'll be running that, council.
Yeah. So that will be, that'll be exciting and certainly commemorate, a past community member who made huge contributions in all sorts of different areas, so, that will take place. And then the other question I have, the Northwest, or North Mart, Healthy Horizon program, any traction there on that? I think you were gonna have a meeting afterwards.
Yeah, so we haven't received any feedback from any of the community groups. We've sent a few emails and a few rough plans. Nobody has jumped at the opportunity to host it. So as discussed before, Town of Inuvik will most likely take the lead on it. And what we're looking to do is each group will potentially facilitate a different week depending on their availability. And so Lori has been out of town for a few days doing some courses down south. And when she's back, we're going to look to bring the group back together and get a formalized plan in place so that we can get something happening sooner rather than later.
Okay, and then one final question, I think we saw something maybe from one of the counselors or community members, some maintenance on the ball diamonds. Is that taking place before the ball season starts?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, again, another thing, our fall user group meeting will be happening potentially next week or the first week of May because, Inuvik softball has their annual general meeting on May 6th, and we want to complete that, prior to the meeting. The maintenance request, Councillor Parrott and I spoke about it in our, I guess, end of the year softball meeting. So I think, speaking with Michael, like we're aware of the work that needs to be done, and kind of as soon as the snow is gone and we can facilitate that, it'll be finished.
Okay, great. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Last but not least, corporate services, Stephen.
Evening, Mayor, Council and colleagues. This is the update for corporate services. Starting with operating revenue and expenses variance report for the first quarter, January to March, as at April 14th. The highlights are there. Revenue so far 3.8 million, mainly from interim property taxes, land taxes. And total expenses 4.7 million, mainly from payroll, snow removal, chemicals, and utilities. The budgeted deficit was 1.2 million. The actual deficit was 896,000. So we have a kind of quarter surplus of 297,000. We'll look at more details now. The comments, funding from MACA will start from end of April, so that's not part of the revenue so far yet. And there are more notes on the report side distributed. You can look at that. And look at that now, or we can look at that after the whole presentation. Counter projects report as of April 16th. As of Tuesday, April 16th, 499,000 had been spent from the annual capital budget of 10 million. So we're still, so when spring and summer comes, more and more will be spent during that period. We received our first payment of 181,000 from the new $5.4 million core water and wastewater infrastructure audit contribution agreement. The next payment of 2.04 million is expected before the end of this month. And then the next tranche of the same amount in October. What we accomplished. Our MACA Q4 report has been finalized. We've updated the financials for Inuvik Works to aid their reporting on their various contribution agreements due at the end of March. Quite a number of them. Final budget preparations, variance report for operating and capital financials have been sent to the directors, with a 2-week deadline. So by the end of the month, we should get that back, and meetings will start on, based on the timeline set by the SAO. What's coming up? All adjustments from the MACA report will be compiled and sent out to the external auditors so we can complete our 2025 audit. The MACA Q1 report is already due, and we're working on that to get it completed and sent out before the end of this month. Joyce and I will be attending Government Finance Officers Association conference from May 19 to 22nd in Calgary. We're just trying to join that association formally, but we want to attend the conference and see what it has in stock for us. Lottery committee meeting, April 28th, to determine July to December 2026 lottery schedules. And those are mainly what we have. Can we go through the Excel?
The capital expenditures or?
The other one, the operating entry. So this is kind of providing more details on the first quarter operating budget variance. From an overall perspective, total revenue 3.8, total expenses 4.7, and the variance is there. But on an individual basis, the first note there is infrastructure public works. The surplus there, we have a 152% positive variance, which is due to SEA's new CA. There's a new CA we just signed with Center for Indigenous Environment and Environmental Resources for another 1 year for the energy program. So that has already been, an invoice has been issued for that. So that's why you have it. You have that positive variance. The second one is a deficit, infrastructure, environmental, and that's we have this 1 month lag in receiving tipping fees documents from the contractors. We're working on getting them to speed up the process. The third one is for economic development and tourism surplus due to positive variance in Sunrise Festival revenue and adverts on Inuvik guide. The utilities operations has a deficit due to we refunded about over $200,000 to a particular customer for wrong charges over the years, period of about 5 years behind. So they wanted their funds returned to them.
And to clarify, that is resolved and that will not happen again. Once we've discovered it, it has been resolved and the process is in place that there's checks and balances to prevent that from happening again.
Yes. That was long before we came here, but yeah, I think it's corrected now. Expense, on the expense side, note 5, protective services, we have a surplus, and that's due to a positive variance in wildland urban interface, and there are some refunds for training and professional development from MACA. Then the next one is infrastructure, environmental. There's a surplus there also. That's due mainly to 1 month's lag. So the lag affects both the revenue and the expense side. The lag in the tipping fees documents. And then utilities operating expenses are the surplus also. And that's most of the expenses are still within period, if not just aside from chemicals that have kind of exceeded budget for the quarter, but every other one is under budget. On the capital side, most of them are okay, except for the surplus we have. I mentioned that earlier. We received the first payment of 181,000, which actually relates to the previous year, which we got within the period. So that's providing more details on that. For the capital, it's still very much almost the same because not much has been done in the capital area, so. Yeah, most of them are still above 80%, haven't been spent. For those that have been spent, like this narrator that has been bought, so that has taken 65%, so still 35% yet to be spent. And what else? Filter 700 refurbishment project, the last one there. That has also been more like halfway spent. And it's still in progress. So that the ones that have some spendings in them. But it's typical for the period, so it's expected, and we expect that things will begin to take shape as we move on. Thank you. That's
Thank you, Stephen. Questions, comments for Stephen on any of the financial report? Deputy Mayor Barlick?
Yeah, I just had a thought or a question in the capital project funding section. We have a line item for gas tax funding. And now we've had a recent announcement from the federal government that they're not going to be collecting gas tax for 6 months or so. Has there been any indication that we may see any reduction in that funding we're anticipating under that gas tax line item this fiscal period or even the next one? Just because I don't imagine if the government's only collecting half the money as usual, are they going to be reducing the funding payments in relation to that?
we haven't been told. We haven't been told that there's going to be any change. Usually we get the funding towards the end of the year, November, December. You know.
We will ask NACA,
Yeah.
finance, not NACA, we will ask finance. And they might not have that answer themselves. But, once we do hear, we will advise you.
Yeah, no small change, so worthwhile, but keep in mind.
I think I could be wrong, but it was the gas tax, was not that the carbon tax?
No, that was eliminated.
I know the carbon tax was eliminated, but wasn't the money from the carbon tax what they were distributing to the municipalities? Because the gas tax has been there like forever, but we didn't get money in the past. I'm not sure if it actually is
I'll
the,
seek some confirmation.
yeah.
But I think they've also changed the name.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's now
some
CCBF.
of those funds names have changed.
Yeah, it's
from
now CCBF.
CCBF to CPI
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Eric,
just
we
curious.
can provide that information by Wednesday.
Yeah, or
I should clear that up.
Whatever.
if I get the information back.
Yeah.
It's not urgent, it just was a.
Yeah.
Kind of piqued my interest when I read that line item.
We'll see if it's reflected at the pumps here.
So they're waiting for.
Yeah. Any further questions, comments for Stephen? Not, thank you, Stephen. Moving along, information item number 11. Do we have any further information items? Nothing. Okay. Council concerns. Deputy Mayor Bradley.
Again, not so much a concern, but I think, again, hearing these reports, getting the year and the 1 year wrap up from the Inuvik Works. We've given appropriate kudos to that crew and the leadership there, but I think I, as a council, would also like to give kudos to this council who a year ago decided to take the gamble to provide the seed money to get that program going. And I think it has shown to be a pretty smashing success in its first year. So I'd really like to say thank you to the council for taking that step and making that decision to, you know, it was a bit of a gamble at the time. We didn't know how it was going to turn out. I think it's turned out quite well. So thank you to this council as well for taking that chance.
Yeah, and certainly the council and our senior staff. I mean, we're on a bit of a limb, but I think all of us knew in our heart and our guts that this was gonna be a good project and the community wanted it back. So we did have lots of support from some of the indigenous groups, which helped make it successful. And, but it's definitely something the community appreciates and wanted back. And, probably more than any other program, people stop me on the street and say how wonderful it is. So, yeah. And congrats to the council, because I do remember when we were asking for a month funding, and I think perhaps it was yourself said, no, let's extend that till the end of June, because that'll give us enough time to move forward. And so, yeah, just having that vision is certainly helped out.
And now it has international shoppers. Now it brings in international shoppers,
Yes, exactly. Change the flight pattern for Western Canada.
right?
Maybe we'll get WestJet or Air Canada to come in.
Any further council concerns or kudos? All right, we don't have an in-camera item tonight. We will on Wednesday. And that's it. We just need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councilor Merrill. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.